Hi, Tia. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start right there at 2 o'clock. It's about 3 minutes and we'll get to rolling. We have a lot of information and questions that have come in, so we're going to try to group a lot of things together to try to answer your questions. I'm also going to take some pauses and answer some live things as they come in as well. So we'll start in about 3 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. Glad to see you're a Star Wars fan there, Morgan. How you doing, Connie? Gwen, this is being recorded. You can take a look at it anytime you like. Afternoon, Mr. Midnick. I'm going to answer that question, Eric. Wow. Folks, feel free to remind your neighbors, your colleagues, your friends that this is being recorded so people can view it at any time they would like. Last time we did this in June, we got to 15,000 views. So we will try to see if we can break that number or keep it close to that this time. We'll get started in about 2 minutes. Thank you, Latoya. I'm going to answer that question too, Ms. Jones. We start about 1 minute, folks. Miss O'Neill, you're welcome. I appreciate the message you sent to Miss Whitley as well. Hey there, Dr. Neighbors. Che, the early start schedule is also posted, Miss Manning, so you can check that out as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 2 o'clock, so we're going to get started. We're going to probably be live today for about 40, maybe 45 minutes. I want to start off by saying, first of all, that I know this is different from everybody is used to. I have confidence in our kids. I have confidence in our school community that we will be able to adjust to this new normal. I know that a lot of you all tuned in to our last school board meeting when we announced the plan. It took about 2 hours, 2.5 hours to kind of hash everything out. And your school board did a really good job of answering questions. We wanted to make sure that part of the reason why our presentation was very long because we wanted to answer all the questions from the July meeting. And, you all have heard me say it. I was very deliberate in making sure this was a 2-part process because we didn't want to have people try to process everything in a real short period of time, especially to get prepared for this year. I have to encourage everyone because a lot of the questions that have popped up that have came into the community engagement office are things that are already in writing and already in print. You can go to our YouTube breakdown videos. We wanted to kind of break things down to different segments based on each one of our experts in the field that we're talking. Our fall reopening plan, Educate and Innovate. There's videos on the introduction of the plan, the overall plan recommendation, staffing, cleaning and disinfecting, childcare, our instructional plan, etc. Also, retake a look at my letter that's up there. Take a look at the schedules that we posted for early start, elementary, middle and high school, etc. Some common questions that we are still getting. Yes, we're going to start the school year off 100% virtual starting September 8th. That's going to be an odd day. Kids at the secondary level are really going to have about 4 classes a day. Key question that we continue to get, our schedule is 8:30 to 3:05 p.m. People want to know, are we expecting our students to be online for 6.5 hours? No, that's not the case. If you take a look, we have synchronous and asynchronous learning. Synchronous is when the teacher's actually live with you. The teachers will be recording their lessons through Canvas, which I'm hoping is going to address some of the questions that we're getting for working parents and being able to supervise if you think you need to. You'll be able to access these videos in Canvas for up to 2 weeks, and you can play them over and over again. We also have asynchronous lessons, which will really allow students to be able to work on some things independently, individually, to collaborate with each other if necessary. I know we've gotten some questions for some of our students that have accommodations. How is that going to be handled? We're also training our paraprofessionals, our teacher assistants in Canvas. We're giving them Chromebooks as well so that we can have some one-on-one time. We want to make sure that our teachers actually set up some individual opportunities for those students that need some extra support to get the one-on-one time. We also have Fridays that are going to be set aside for instructional support, enrichment, and remediation days. I've asked all of our administrators, I've asked all of our teachers, we got to be very clear and deliberate when it comes to having that contact with students and with parents. Chromebooks, for those folks that don't have them, delivery is probably going to start around August 27th. You will have individual communication will come from your school. So please make sure you go to the school's websites, okay? All orientations in Suffolk Public Schools this year are going to be virtual. We have asked the principals to kind of set up a map of the school and kind of walk you through if you were entering through the front of the building, as well as entering through the bus loop. We also want to make sure that you all can match some names with the faces. You'll see contact information. You'll have notifications of where the main office is, the school counseling office is, etc. I've been asked if print materials and consumers are going to be available. Yes, but we really want to be able to reinforce everything being electronic and digital, which leads me to probably the biggest question that a lot of people are asking, but what about the kids that don't have, or families that don't have strong broadband? So I got 3 solutions for that. John Littlefield, our great executive director of technology, has literally driven around the entire city. And the first thing that we're going to do is we have 1,025 Kajit devices. We upgraded that from last year when we had 500, but we also upgraded those to unlimited because the feedback that we got from you all as a school community is that the videos were taking up a lot of the broadband. Understand, we get that. So we spent some additional funds so that all Kajit devices are unlimited. 1,025 will be available. Part 2, we're going to open up resource access centers at 3 of our schools, actually at 5 of our schools, to be honest. And we're going to be able to allow folks to come in. We're still kind of finalizing the schedule, but it'll be 3 hours during the day and 2 hours, probably from 8:30 to 11:30, and 2 hours from 4 to 6 afterwards, where if necessary, you can come in and download information onto the Chromebooks. We'll probably set it up so you can stay a maximum of an hour to an hour and a half. Definitely want to make sure we have some supervision there. We're going to use our crossing guards for some of those resource access centers because, we got to find some additional responsibilities for them to do. But John Littlefield and the city of Suffolk have worked together. We're going to set up some exterior Wi-Fi at 5 of our locations: the Whaleyville Recreation Center, Lakeland High School, the old Southwestern Elementary School, Pioneer. We definitely want to make sure that we give as many opportunities for, in case there are broadband issues. This will be open 24/7 on the outside, right? Just to make sure that people can really access the information they need and continue to share with us if there's some particular areas. We've also are looking at doing some work with some of our mobile companies. We've asked the city of Suffolk to help us when it comes to potentially putting up some new tires, especially in some of those areas that are very rural and the broadband goes in and out. For special education, this has been a hot topic because we know that we spent a lot of time talking about this at the board meeting. We originally were asking for our special education students in specialized programs. And what I mean by specialized programs, ladies and gentlemen, I mean that there is a severe mental or physical disability. And there's an alternative diploma that these students would earn at the end. We are trying to figure out with the phase-in piece, if we're going to start with 2 days, if we're going to start with 4 half days. And it's going to be our goal to kind of update the board at the October school board meeting to increase that. But I can tell you one of the main things that's going to occur is there's individual conversations going on right now between case managers, the special education staff at the school administrative office, and parents. So a lot of it's going to be based on the IEP decision. So when our board said phased in, we want to take a hard look at each individual student's needs. And the biggest thing for a lot of our students, and this is just not special education students in specialized programs, is really developing that routine. That's part of the reason why we have schedules that we laid out for students to be able to follow. Can we resubmit or update the form completed earlier regarding our plan, preference, and transportation needs? Yeah, that form is still open, and we will always use the most latest one. To piggyback on that question, a lot of people ask, well, what is the plan for the year? Well, if you all remember in my letter on Tuesday, August 4th, I laid out to you what the plan is for the year. But a lot of that's going to be based on the science and the data. And we're kind of looking at 10% to kind of be the threshold. So first 9 weeks, virtual for everyone except for our special education students in the specialized programs. Second 9 weeks, if the science data for the city of Suffolk says that our rates have went down, if the transmission rates are lower, then we're going to try to bring our students into the building 1 to 2 days a week. And I can't give you a specific on 1 to 2 because some of that's still going to depend on the transportation and how many students need it. Right now, we're right around 67% of our families have said that their kids will need transportation. Second semester in February is when we're hoping that we can get our kids back to school 5 days a week. But again, that's going to depend on the data. So we just got to be patient with that, folks. All right. And I want to also take some time to dispel the notion that we are trying to squeeze everything that you normally would have in a typical face-to-face 5 day a week day into virtual learning. It's not the case. Virtual learning is going to be different. Okay, it's going to be different. It's going to be different than what it was in the 4th 9 weeks for virtual SBS. But the schedules that we put out there includes social emotional learning in the beginning of the day. You all have heard me say several times, you never know how the pandemic has affected individuals or families. So we got to check on people to start off every day. And that's at all 3 levels, elementary, middle, and high. We also have put into our plan designated morning brain breaks, 15 minutes after the first 2 hours, right? 15 minutes. Gives little kids a little break, gives families a break if they're staying at home with them, etc. We also have 5 minutes in between to change in between periods, or if it's synchronous versus asynchronous learning. We set aside 40 minutes for lunch. We're still going to deliver breakfast and lunch on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but we want to give enough time for our kids to literally walk out of their homes or wherever, go to the bus stop, get their food, come back, and still have plenty of time to eat before instruction starts back up. So the 6.5 hour day you see, realistically, is about 4, okay? And for elementary, it's a little less than that, about 3 hours and 45 minutes. So the breaks are there. We also want to dispel the notion that parents have to teach their students. You don't, but we want you to be involved. We want you to know what's going on. I saw some questions that popped up about Canvas training for parents. Some videos are coming out end of this month. You'll be able to see exactly what the parent expectation is. We actually have things that have been relayed on parent expectation, staff expectation, and student expectation. You previously mentioned asking for input from students about going back to school. Did you follow up with this? Of course. We had our Superintendent's Advisory Council, and I asked our students some very specific questions. Number one, how do you feel about coming back to school, virtually or face-to-face? Our kids were indifferent there. Of course, they would prefer to be in the building like we would prefer for them to be in the building, but they also understood the safety of it all. Second, we asked them about the ability to wear masks, and they said that their friends and their colleagues and them individually understand that that's going to be their expectation, and they don't have a problem wearing masks. They already have their own masks. Dr. Rice and I informed them that we purchased masks for them. They were very appreciative of that. Whenever we do have students coming back to school, ladies and gentlemen, and they are using our Suffolk Public Schools transportation, masks are mandatory. And if a kid gets on the bus without a mask, the bus driver has a stack, they're going to hand them one. So I want to make it clear that whenever we begin to transport kids, masks will be mandatory on the bus. And remember, riding the bus is a privilege. It's not a mandate. It's not necessary. It's an option. And we do know that we have a lot of parents that are going to bring their kids to school. Will there be a process for quick repair, replacement of broken equipment? Our electronic tickets still have to be submitted, ladies and gentlemen, for Chromebooks. Will issued devices only be able to access school lessons, or will students have free reign on the internet? So our acceptable use policy is still in effect. Our filter is still in effect. So we have to be able to make sure that we're still doing that because it's a school-issued Chromebook. Will issued devices, will Chromebooks and hotsbooks be issued per student or per household? Remember, that's only, Chromebooks are for every student. The hotspots are only for those in need. So please do not request one if you don't really need it for your area. Does the Canvas platform have the ability for a teacher to share their screen with students like Zoom and Google Meet? Yes. But one good thing about Canvas is you'll be able to see an entire calendar of what the expectation is, right? And you'll be able to see when assignments are due, when resources are. We've gotten some questions about how is attendance going to be taken. So the teachers are still going to take attendance, but the Department of Education has given us a lot of flexibility on attendance. Well, attendance can also be considered for every engagement. So if there is a phone call, if there's an email, that actually counts for engagement. There's going to be some additional language that's going to come out from the Department of Education on that. Can parents use personal devices? Do you recommend using a school-issued device? Please use a school-issued device because we're going to have everything already uploaded on your school-issued device. Will students have to be online in real time all day based on the schedule? So again, ladies and gentlemen, we want you to have your kids log on at 8:30. We do. But if there's other circumstances that they can't, remember the lesson is going to be recorded. But also, hopefully, there's going to be some communication between the student and the teacher or the parent and the teacher just to make sure that people don't fall behind. And we're really designating those Fridays for that. And we've asked all of our staff members to make sure that they contact their teachers. Their students. We've asked our students to make sure they contact their teachers. And the expectation is they have to give you some feedback within 24 to 48 hours. If for some reason that becomes an issue, school community, I'm really asking that you allow and alert our administrators. How much time per day do you expect elementary children to spend on for virtual learning? As I said, probably about 3 hours and 45 minutes to 4 hours. How will teachers interact with students on a personal interactive platform if they aren't able to attend the live sessions? That's the emails, that's the recorded sessions. There will also be some opportunities for some one-on-one sessions because we want teachers to be really engaged. Did you ever give any thought to ditching the odd-even schedule and switching to 4x4 block? Okay, so this is an interesting question because I've actually had some teachers that have asked the same question. I think people forget that in a 4x4 block, you have to have 8 classes. Our course registration had 7. So we would have to literally add additional staff to do that. And we set it up, though, so that we're still at the secondary level only having 4 periods per day. Should we be expecting our children to have an online meeting with their class during each of their high school blocks Monday through Thursday? Ideally, yes. Ideally, yes, because that will help to save some opportunities for the students to get direct feedback from the teacher and to ask them some questions live. And you don't have to worry about the email piece because we want to be able to set up those enrichment and remediation sessions on Friday or after the session ends so that kids can get an opportunity to have their questions or concerns addressed immediately. And all of our teachers, they will be logging every contact they have with a student and a parent. Will the afternoon small group remediation groups, gifting and talent groups be scheduled through me, the parent, with the teacher, or will my child teacher just assign my child to a group? Your child's teacher is going to assign your student to a group. But that's going to be some communication that you'll have with the parent along the way. We got some questions about alphabets in here in childcare. Ages 4 through 12, 7 a.m. to 6. If you haven't signed up for that, for those of you all that need it, we're going to end up opening that up to the rest of the school community that's non-SPS staff next week. And there's still spaces available. There are still spaces available. And if the numbers stay where they are, I'm going to probably end up opening up to the community earlier than the 20th. We may go next Tuesday. Is the school going to provide teacher assistance to the local child care centers such as the YMCA? No, we don't have a partnership with the YMCA. Alphabet is our child care provider. If teachers choose to report to their buildings more than 2 days, will those teachers have to pay for the other 3 days out of pocket? The teacher needs to determine when they are signing up for child care. On the form, they have to specifically list the days that they're going to need it. And I want to be clear on this too. So when the adjustment was made to move from teachers being in the building for 4 days versus 2 days, all that means is that the other 3 days are optional. And I know that we've had more people that were probably more vocal about teachers not being in the building, but I can tell you there's more teachers that want to be in the buildings than do not. So please don't misconstrue that. The emails that our team and our principals have received, teachers want to be in the buildings. They miss that. They are dedicated to what they do. We got to get out of the habit of thinking that the most vocal people are always the most negative. It's just that the people that are on board sometimes don't contact others. They just come to work and do their job and do what's expected of them. And I really appreciate that. Thank you to all of our SPS staff that has emailed. They were worried if I was getting frustrated. They were worried if our team was getting frustrated. Hey, this comes with the territory. And there's a reason that I'm here in Suffolk Public Schools. How will time off for appointments be handled with virtual instruction? So we're going to train our substitutes too. We do have some permanent subs that are in the building. They're going to be our first line of defense. You know, they're going to continue to work. And I'm sorry that guys out here doing the yard work, folks. They're going to continue to work with our people and our principals. We're still going to have them in the buildings. Will teachers have childcare for pre-service? Pre-service, no, we couldn't do that. That's not part of the contract. It's going to start September 8th. How will staff members pay the taxes on the Alphabet's childcare if they choose to enroll their students? That's going to be taken care of for you. Literally, the money goes in, it's taxed, and it comes out. You won't see any difference in your check. What will happen when a staff member or child in Alphabet gets sick? Right now, we're going to have enough space that we'll be able to move them to another place. And then we go through if you all take a look at our resource guide that is actually we basically put everything on a tab on our index page. It says fall learning plan. Ms. Ward just finalized, we moved a couple of things around yesterday because we want you all to be able to find things in multiple places. But if you take a look at our fall, at the resource guide, it gives you every flow chart, every scenario of what the school division does in case something happens. That includes contact tracing, that includes if a student tests positive, that includes if a staff member tests positive, etc. It's all in there and it's all laid out. All right. What is the plan for pre-K students? As I said, pre-K has a specific curriculum that we just put out there. It's a lot more asynchronous learning. Their day is going to be 8:30 to 3:05. Will students have homework assigned in addition to the scheduled time online? Of course they're going to have homework. We got to reinforce and check to see if they know what they're doing. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to piggyback on that and say we haven't changed any grading policies or anything of that nature. All we're asking is for our school community to adjust with us. You know, there's no need for us to complain anymore, folks. This is just the way it's going to be, right? And so we have to be able to work together to do what's best for our kids. And I'll be honest, you know, I've been concerned that there have been decisions that have been made that are best for adults. I even saw a post where teachers are our most valuable asset. That is completely false. Students are our most valuable asset. It's all about the kids. 100%. Okay, are students going to be able to have physical textbooks and consumables if requested? Yes. Now, I can share with you that we've ordered less textbooks because we got to really move to this electronic piece, right? And for those kids that are going off to college, the hybrid learning model is what's being used in college anyway, right? For kindergartners, will print materials be made available for students to work on handwriting? Yes, we're actually going to have tabs and resources. If you look at some of the sample classrooms that, we're going to get ready to post and some people have already shared, you'll see things you can download. Actually, also at our September meeting, I'm going to have some sample teachers are going to come up and give some examples to the school board on what Canvas really looks like. And when it comes to Canvas, folks, I just need you all to imagine, okay, the kid logs onto their computer. They log on John Gordon, whatever my password is. They open up Canvas. They're going to see some type of image, icon, and graphic of what the teacher's classroom looks like. You'll see a calendar. You'll see links. You'll see links to Google Classroom. You'll see links to iReady, our diagnostic tool for elementary, because we really need to find out where our kids are. You'll see links to IXL for math, that's K through 8. You'll see links to Edgenuity, which we're going to use for supplemental modules. And of course, any other instruction that teachers put in there. That includes, you'll see a link to Google Classroom too, okay? How will students be graded for the first 9 weeks? The way they always are, right? What happens if the teacher is sick and cannot get online, needs to take a day of leave? It depends on when they get sick, if they have the ability to record beforehand. If not, that's when we're going to use some of our subs. Okay. Which IEP special education students will be in person? Right now, ladies and gentlemen, again, it's just our students in the specialized programs. Those that have, more challenging disabilities that need to be dealt with. And we need to make sure that we provide them all the support we can. I know a lot of people have asked, well, what about accommodations? A lot of accommodations for students that have 504 plans or other things in their IEP will occur virtually. We're also working on some manipulatives that we're going to send home to parents. Ms. Whitley has gotten some great feedback from our Special Education Advisory Committee. I spoke with them for about 45 minutes to an hour yesterday. Thank you, Ms. Simmons and the team for joining Ms. Whitley and Dr. Branch and I, because this is one of our vulnerable groups, right? This is a part of the reason why we ask for these students in our specialized programs to come back for 4 days. We have some vulnerable students that we have to make sure that we give as much support as possible. So we have to do everything that we can to supplement. We have to do everything that we can to hand in information that can be used at home, because the feedback we've gotten from a lot of our parents is, what can we do at home to help you? Okay? All right, I'm gonna take some right here from online. So to be sure we never have to go to school for anything, right? Everything would be online. Pretty much, Bob, pretty much. Will the teachers be allowing for the children that are on different levels? Because I'm sure that they told her not be on the same level. So Miss Ivy, teachers should differentiate instruction. And that's where that feedback and what the teachers are noticing about the diagnostic work that we're really going to use for the month of September, because we got to find out where our kids are. Will students be able to work ahead or be provided more advanced work if it's appropriate for them? Ms. Summers, yes, that's what those Fridays are going to be used for. You'll see more enrichment materials to go out there, because we got to service our other students that are gifted and talented, our students that get it the first time, right? It's not just going to be a focus on those kids that may need some additional support. That's why we're calling it enrichment and remediation. So do the children have to be online when the teachers are available during the day? Brown Sugar Riri, that's a hilarious name, by the way. These lessons are being recorded, okay? We would prefer for them to be online, please, if they can do that. But the lessons are going to be recorded for 2 hours, and you'll be able to see some things. But the only thing about that is, if a kid has a question, that then has to be turned into an email or a phone call. If they're online with them live, a lot of things are going to be addressed right now. Will we get worksheets for the younger grades first, or will it be online? Will we have to print anything? You're going to have to print some things, yes. Schools are also going to probably make some things available for you all to pick up as well, just in case there's going to be some printing costs. Okay, talk about Project Lead the Way, please. So there really isn't any difference with Project Lead the Way. They're going to be virtual as well. We've had some conversations. Our new Director of Curriculum Instruction, Dr. Davenport, our new Supervisor of Advanced Instruction, Mr. Jones, have had conversations with our Project Lead the Way teachers, IB teachers already, AP teachers already, College Board's going to give some things. Biomedical Sciences already has some resources that were coming in. It's going to be really important. The only thing that's going to be missing is some of the hands-on activity. But if you look at some of the videos, even the one that we released for Educate and Innovate, you saw Ms. Leitner Black actually modeling what a lab would look like, for example. So you'll probably see the staff actually doing some of the hands-on work and lab activity, but the students will still have the data sheets and information that needs to be filled out being associated with that. Most importantly, the students still will have to be able to draw their own conclusions based on what they see. Oh, and how do we know what supplies we need? So you're not going to have to purchase as many supplies right now as necessary, but your schools will be releasing supply lists. One of the things that we've been working with the Suffolk Education Foundation on is, okay, maybe we should get students headphones. The main thing we're going to ask for our school community and our parents, please make sure that your children have a designated workspace, okay? If at all possible, please make sure they have a designated workspace. Will Robotics Club and Music Education be made available virtually? Yes. So I have changed the name of our athletic directors to Directors of Student Activities. And they are now responsible for all clubs and activities, especially at the secondary level. We want to make sure that all of our clubs and activities like robotics, they have a charter. They have things that they need to be go over. But they also need to make sure these clubs are occurring. So our Directors of Student Activities are going to work with our club sponsors and our administration to set up club meetings. And club meetings will take place after the school day, during the week. That's going to be the plan, probably some on Fridays too, but clubs will definitely still occur. When will we get teacher assignments? Probably last week in August. Will students receive textbooks, addition to Chromebooks? Not unless it's really requested. Your Chromebook's going to be your textbook, folks. Your Chromebook's going to be your textbook. What is the plan for community service hours? I'm gonna waive some of that. That's more of a local decision, but I'm not going to give you a concrete time on that because I got to see when we physically can go back to school, and I'm sure everybody understands that. Will lunches be delivered to the students' actual bus stops? Yes. Isn't having the children gather at bus stops just as dangerous as they were going to school to get lunches? Remember, you're outside. You're outside. Virus transmission rates are much different in the open air. This is why restaurants have outside seating. Will theater still happen in high school this year? Yes. How will classes such as orchestra and band be held? So if you take a look at our schedule, we actually put those special classes or resource classes in there. And I know at the younger levels, they actually made them, about 5 minutes longer. They're about 50 minutes. So we still want to be able to go through that rotation, okay? And if you all remember last year at the secondary level, Dr. Neighbors did a really good job of working with our fine and performing arts teachers so that they can still have things through Google Classroom. And that's probably the model we're going to use this year too. Are seniors who play sports still required to take 5 classes in order to play on the team? Yes, that's a Virginia High School League rule. Yes, yes, yes. Will students at CCAP be provided transportation as they have in the past? So when we get back, if you all remember the plan that we discussed in July and we touched on a little bit in August, if we are back in school at any point in time starting November, and now let me just pause for a second. You've heard other school divisions talk about this continuity of learning, and they may be in school one week and they may not be in school the next week, still depending on the scientific data. Because of routine and because of processes and logistics, we will always make our decisions 9 weeks at a time. So for CCAP, the plan is, depending on how many buses we will need, because we usually have about 300 students in CCAP, we plan to pick our students up from home and have them attend CCAP 2 days a week, right? Depending on how many buses we need, if we need to use the buses for middle school pickup, because that would be our first one, because our schedules aren't changing, right? Depending on how many buses we need, if it's middle school pickup, then the CCAP day would be about 3.5 hours. If we don't need the buses for middle school pickup, the CCAP day will be about 5 hours. So think of like maybe 10 to 3 or 10 to 3:30. But that hands-on process with CCAP won't start until students are physically back in the building. And thank you to Ms. Burgess and Mr. Skinner. They have already lined up online resources for our CCAP students. And the State Department has also given us a lot of flexibility for workplace readiness skills and certification. So we're very thankful for that. Will I be able to enroll my children in dual enrollment, dual credit classes? Yes, just like you normally would. Will the military liaison still be working with military students? Yes, our school liaison officers will still work with military students. How will classes like ROTC and others hands-on classes be taught virtually? I think I just explained that. It's going to be, we also want to encourage our teachers to ask the students to submit videos showing them the techniques, showing them that the things that are being instructed are actually working. We want to be able to use that for evidence. I'm going to come back here. Governor School of the Arts is following whatever the localities are doing. Thank you, Ms. Canterbury Stevens. That's exactly right. Hi, will we receive a letter with the name of the teacher in classroom? Yes. Any mention of SOLs? Great question. Thank you, Latrice. So the State Department has waived accreditation for basically the next 2 years. But they still expect us to give SOLs. Now, the one thing that we really need to reinforce, and I'm going to say this verbally right now, if Suffolk Public Schools decides to give SOLs, because that's still a local decision, but if Suffolk Public Schools decides to give SOLs, whatever the test results are this year is the new year one. It's 1998, okay? The very first year of SOLs, that is how this is going to be measured. They have been very specific and deliberate about stating that this is the new baseline for data and growth. So do not try to compare it to 18-19, 17-18. This is year one. And then growth will then occur for 2021-2022. Okay? Let's see. I'm going to go to guidance a little bit. For high school students prepping for college applications, will there be guidance? The term is school counselors. Don't use guidance counselors. Available for support? Yes, our school counselors have been back basically the entire summer. We actually added 20 days to their schedules that buildings can use to have them in there. Will they have office hours for students to meet in person? Yes, by appointment only though, okay? For students that haven't made a schedule yet, how will classes be decided or chosen? You need to call right now. Well, not right now because we're off today. Call Monday. Call Monday and set up an appointment. We got to get your schedule straight. As of today, we have 13,863 students enrolled in Suffolk Public Schools. How will benchmark tests be done? All right, so September, okay? September is really going to be about assessing where students are. Benchmark tests will occur, but we're not going to give you the schedule yet because we need to see where students are. Got to be fair to our kids. But I can share with you all that the way that testing is going to occur in Suffolk Public Schools is going to be different than the way it's been in the past. For so many years, because we had accreditation issues, I honestly believe that we over-tested our kids, right? So now we're going to set this up that your students are basically going to have some type of major assessment every 3 weeks. So let's think quiz, test, or quiz, project, or group work. So ideally, a student will probably get about 3 assessments per 9 weeks. Now, if one of those tests is one of the tests that we have to give, such as PALS, for example, right? To measure a student's reading, literacy level, right? Phonological awareness. Then that test will take the place of one of the normal tests that they will have for that 9 weeks. So, because I don't want to have it set up that a kid is taking 3 normal tests or projects plus PALS, and then they got 4 in the 9 weeks. I want to try to provide as much instruction time as possible, okay? That's the goal. Instruction time as possible, okay? Got a question on here, Ms. Whitley. Can you have a meeting with parents or seniors to address questions and concerns? That's going to happen at the building level, Robin. That's going to happen at the building level. Will you cancel the SAT in September at Kings Fork High School? No. I didn't allow any testing to occur for this month. But once school starts, I still want to be able to do it because I don't want to take away those opportunities for our kids to have to travel somewhere else. But we're going to have 10 kids in the classroom, and we still need to make sure that we have staff members there to help supervise. Okay. Are teachers and assistants required to get Google and Canvas certified also? I would like you to get Google certified, but you are going to be trained on Canvas, teacher assistants. When will teachers get information about the staff PD and pre-service? Thank you, Pam. Pre-service postcards with this information went out yesterday. Folks, our focus for our pre-service week is really for professional learning in 3 main areas, right? The first one is going to be social emotional learning, because we're going to do that across the board division level. Again, to check on the status of students, but also to check on the status of staff. So we want to be able to train our staff for look-fors, okay? The second piece that we're really going to focus on is equity. There are some inequities here in Suffolk Public Schools. And realistically, the way we're looking at things is I want to be able to have it set up so our administrators, teachers, parents, whatever, when you walk into a school, the school should be a direct reflection of the demographics of the school. And that means who's on the bulletin boards. That means the culturally responsive instruction, which is part 3. We really are going to address some culturally responsive instruction. I think that's something that's been ignored, and that culturally responsive instruction piece, I think, is going to lead to us closing or eliminating these achievement gaps. That's going to be key, right? Those 3 things are what we're going to work on for the entire year, and we're going to have some of our administrators lead. We're going to start an equity committee, and parents, we want you all to be on it, right? We're going to start an equity committee to give us some examples of some things that the school division can work on so that all kids feel welcomed in every arena. And also to help eliminate some of this implicit bias that unfortunately some of our staff members have. If you can't allow a kid to grow and really help them based on their potential, instead of just looking at them and making up your mind about them, you don't need to work in Suffolk Public Schools. I'm just going to be honest and say that. Will students have to take benchmarks, midterms, and final exams? Benchmarks, yes. Midterms to be determined. Final exams, yes. Okay? Will there be a need for substitutes during virtual learning? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Can those of us who use flexible seating do so when students return as long as we follow CDC guidelines? Yes. The main thing is just the spacing of the 6 feet apart. How will the teacher assistants collaborate with the teachers and students during the virtual teaching lessons? So that should be that collaborative planning that should occur. And we're going to kind of use part of that Friday for some planning pieces, but also teachers will still have some opportunities to plan during the day. And the key is going to be to make sure that our teachers assistants are really working with those students that need some additional support. You know, they will end up setting up secondary Google Meet and Google Classroom opportunities with those students. What will the teacher expectations for teleworking be? So a handbook is coming out to you all teachers next week, but I can share some things with you that are definitely going to be in the handbook. Number 1, you got to be professionally dressed. Number 2, there should not be any background distractions, television on, music, make sure the dog's in a different room. Try to make sure that you are really alone, because we want you all to be able to be fully engaged. And then we'll also go over expectations on the teacher workday. Teacher workday is 8:15 to 3:45, I believe. And then setting up opportunities and times to communicate with parents. Okay, we'll talk about health and safety. We got about 5 or 10 more minutes left, folks. How often will health data be reviewed to determine when elementary students will return in-person instruction? It's going to be the same for everybody. We're not just going to return elementary. We'll return all levels at the same time. And we review the data weekly. I can tell you that. If vaccine becomes available, will children be forced to have it before returning to school? That's a Virginia Department of Health question. I wish I could answer that for you. Why are staff not provided with cleaning materials to clean as needed? Because that's not their responsibility. We have our custodial crew for that. Our staff has been hired to teach. That's what we want them to do. Will you hire additional medical staff to assist with any COVID-19 related issues? It's not in our plan, but I can share with you that there's going to be some level of COVID-19 training so that staff know what their expectations are. How will the students be seated in classrooms and on buses? Take a look at our website. We gave, and our last school board presentation, we actually gave examples and we showed you what classrooms look like. Desks will be 6 feet apart. Students on the bus will be 3 feet apart. One in the window, one in the aisle, but they must wear the mask. That allows us to kind of increase the capacity, if you understand, on the bus. How early will the plans for the second 9 weeks be decided and announced? We're going to provide an update at our October school board meeting. Will gifted children receive any services virtually? Yes. What about children who attend Title I classes? I don't really understand that question. That's no different than anyone else attending some questions. Will it be okay for the child to log on later in the day due to my working hours? That's your choice. I mean, I can't say or mandate that a child needs to log on at that particular time, but we strongly encourage it because you can get that immediate feedback. Okay? Ms. Fleming asked, how will attendance be handled? Attendance will be taken every day, but there's going to be other avenues to gauge attendance, such as email, one-on-one meetings, collaboration, enrichment and support meetings, collaborative groups. The State Department is giving us a lot of flexibility on attendance. Will seniors still be required to be certified with state tests to graduate? They have waived some information, but they haven't made the determination for the 2020-21 school year just yet. So we're going to have to stay tuned for information from the Department of Education on that. Ms. Waters asked, how will case managers work with the kids? Constant communication. You're going to hear from them. You're going to work with them. They will actually even be in some of the classrooms. School physicals required for enrollment, Ms. Taylor? Yes. Department of Health did not back on that. Okay. Ms. Chandler, community service hours, we're going to adjust that, but I need to wait to see when students actually come back to school. So I'll probably come out with some information for that probably around November. Ms. Chapman, PE is going to happen. It happened in Google Classroom for the 4th 9 weeks. There's going to be activities that your students are going to be assigned. There's going to be worksheets and resources that are going to be available to explain the different rules and regulations of sports. And one of the things that we really talked in leadership about is making sure, because kids are going to be sitting down a lot more, that PE basically happens every day. Okay? Will CSEP staff who work in SBS school be able to sign up for childcare now? No, because CSEP is actually funded by Norfolk. But when we open it up for the rest of the community, yes, you will be able to. Can teachers do live instruction on other days as well besides Tuesday and Wednesday? Definitely. We want them to. We want them to. You'll see when we start school on September 8th, you'll see a lot of pictures coming from our administrators showing you just how many teachers actually are in the buildings every day. It's a lot more than people are giving folks credit for. It's a lot more. How will we monitor visitors in and out of the building? So there's a sign that's going to be posted beside all of our cameras outside when people are coming to the front door. And it's going to ask those same, basically the general COVID questions that everyone always sees, right? You also have to take off your mask and identify yourself, because that's for our video and for our safety. Then when you come into the building, our security monitors, they're going to do a temp check. They're going to do a temp check with you right there. They also have the plastic barriers set up for in front of them. Then you go into the office, or you'll use the Chromebook, depending on how the schools have set it up, to state your business. Now, for any visitors to the building, again, it really should be by appointment only. The best piece of mitigation strategy that we can use to keep the virus out of our schools and to keep our staff safe is to make sure that we limit the total number of people that are actually coming there that aren't SPS staff. Our SPS staff has a checklist that they have to do every day. And if they check yes to anything, they need to stay at home. They need to stay at home. When will the Chromebook be distributed out? End of August, Ms. Carr, probably right around August 27th. Can we use the school stadiums and track for exercises? We probably will open them back up, but we probably won't open them back up until after school starts. They're closed right now at Nansemond River and some other places because I'm checking some things out. I'll be honest, I'm checking some things out. Will seniors be able to participate in special activities? We're going to have to wait and see. We're going to have to wait and see. Let me take one more look. Why didn't I read the entire question regarding tuition assistance? The question was, it was stated in the school board meeting that teacher assistance would be provided to the kids in the alphabets because child care providers are not trained. Would you prove them to other child care providers because they are not trained either? Suffolk Public Schools partnered with Alphabets. That's the only one we're providing our teacher assistants to. And we're going to have conversations with our teacher assistants to determine who wants to primarily work more virtually for support and who wants to work with the students that are in childcare. I'm trying to probably have about maybe 2, maybe 3 teacher assistants at each childcare location. Will there be driver's education for sophomores? Yes. The behind the wheel piece just opened back up from DMV. We'll go from there. Oh, good question here. Will we move homecoming to spring since Virginia High School League moves sports schedules? Okay, so Ms. Canterbury Stevens, that homecoming is really important to you. We haven't talked about sports, so I need to lay this out. Sports start in the state of Virginia December 14th, okay? Clubs and activities, we're going to start based on when school starts, right? But sports start December 14th, and they're starting with winter sports. The way they're setting this up is that realistically, each sports season, folks, is now 2 months instead of 3, okay? And Dr. Lee just went to a meeting, Southeastern District in the region. They're trying to determine if they're going to have any championships for like football, for example. So winter sports, December to February. Fall sports, February to April. Spring sports, April to June. That's the plan right now. Okay, that's the plan. How would students receive instruction if they are receiving homebound services? Virtually. Mr. Mills' orientation for 6th graders, that's also going to occur online. You'll begin to see orientations popping up on our school's websites. I think Kings Fork High School recently did theirs. Mr. Bryan and his team basically wanted to kind of do an introduction of some administrative faces, and they also put some schedules and other information out there. All right. Student dress codes. No changes in dress codes, Ms. Canada. Is pre-service week going to be virtual since childcare will not be available? Some parts will be, some parts will be face-to-face. And remember, pre-service week, normally students aren't in school anyway. So whatever the child care plan that staff had previously or prior probably needs to be those same expectations now. When will Kings Fork High School take senior pictures? So that's on their websites. And I actually have, I think, the picture schedule right here. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up for you. Give me 1 second, folks. High school picture dates. Kings Fork High School, August 24th through the 28th. Lakeland High School, August 17th through the 19th. Nansemond River High School, August 24th through the 28th. So that's on their websites as well. IEP eligibility testing to resume when is actually already started. It's actually already started. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to close it out there. It's 2:50. You're going to see some FAQs that are actually going to pop up on our website based on your questions, based on some things that have come in to the school division. If you have specific questions, folks, we got to communicate with our schools. Don't go to other sources, okay? I can honestly tell you all there's way too much information out there, which is part of the reason why we do these Facebook Lives. We really want to encourage you to go to our websites. We really want to encourage you to have conversations with your school administration, okay? Please do that. Please do that. I can share with you all that the plan that's been put together for Suffolk Public Schools, we started working on March 16th. We closed schools on March 13th. We deliberately rolled it out over 2 months because we wanted to make sure that we gave folks a time to process. We know it is a lot, but I really need our school community to understand education is going to be different right now. It's going to be different. We can't argue over it. We can't be divided over it. We got to really work together. We got to really work together. And if you have some other things, some other ideas, have conversations with your teachers, have conversations with your administrators. But I can share with you, based on a lot of the feedback that we've already gotten from staff, students, school community members, school board, etc., we're in a much better place than a lot of school divisions. And the reason I know is because they're contacting us for answers and they're trying to see what our plan looks like. You know? Thank you, Ms. Simmons, for putting your email out there for the SEAC piece. We want to continue to work and partner with our parents and our families, but I do not want to have confrontation when we got to keep kids first, right? You got to really work closely with your teachers, ladies and gentlemen. You got to really build that positive relationship. We've asked the teachers to really build a positive relationship with the students and the staff and the parents. We need our parents to do the same thing. Positive relationships, because negativity, all the people that's going to suffer because of that is going to be our students. And our kids have already been through enough. I mean, they had their school year cut short and they're going through a pandemic and they're a kid. It's not fair. It's not fair. Thank you all for all you do. We love you. Thank you for supporting Suffolk Public Schools.